welcome to the main event, Mark's podcast. I am a lifelong wrestling fan, former radio guy, and father of 6 cats. I am Troy. Joining me today is the WWE Walking Wrestling Encyclopedia, the main event collector, and the Rick to my Scott Steiner. He is Greg. What's up, Greg?
Hoop.
Yeah, unfortunately, I made the Michigan guy reference on this one.
There's 2 Michigan guys, too.
Yeah. Well, it was either that or I could have made the reference to the other Michigan guy, Kevin Nash. So either way, I was screwed. Before we get started, I want to let everybody know we are officially on the Unhinged Sports Network. So go check us out every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We drop a new episode. We are live, unhingedsn.com. Also, we're sponsored by Fubo TV and Fanatics. If you're a real sports fan, you're going to want to click the links in the show description and let them know that the main event Marks and the Unhinged Sports Network sent you.
Yeah, Fubo, right, go Earthquakes.
Yeah. But today we are talking about SuperBrawl 8. You were there in the crowd, man. I assume you got some good personal stories to share from this one.
I remember sitting next to a drunk guy.
Oh, man. That's always... was he a big guy with the look, bro?
No, he was just a regular-sized guy, but, man, he wouldn't shut the hell up all night. And I just feel like every single time someone hit a move, he goes, "Oh, man, I bet that hurt." Just...
That's awesome.
Like, he just said it like 100 times, dude. I actually caught myself saying it ironically nowadays. I'm like, oh, God, but that hurt.
You should have, halfway through the show, did you look over at him after a while and just be like, I bet that one hurt?
No, his head was going to hurt in the morning. He was hella wasted.
Yeah. Well, we've got some, in the future, we'll review WrestleMania 34 that we were personally at, and, man, there were a lot of drunk guys at that one.
Remember Ric Flair guy with the robe? He went for beer like every 5 minutes.
Yeah, looked like he made the robe at home. Like he just glued feathers to the end of his bathrobe.
He had a horrible wig on, too. Remember that?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Yeah, how many beers can you fit in your pockets? Like, I like the guys with, like, the old, what are they, carpenter jeans or whatever? They got the holes, or the pockets, like, halfway down the leg.
Yep.
You've got, like, 6 sets of pockets, and they had a beer in each one.
At one point, remember, he had 2 bottles in each hand, and he had the cup in his mouth, holding it with his teeth.
Oh, yeah, so you can carry 7. Nice. Well, I was thinking ahead, man.
First thing you and I thought of, too, real quick, is like, damn, how much money did he spend on that? Like, that's where our heads went right to.
I know, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, because I went to a baseball game with a guy who did that. He bought the tall boys and of, like, the expensive beer, the dark beer or whatever. So it was, like, I don't know, $8 a can. And I'm like, dude, you have drank, like, 6 beers. Like, you spent more on beer than you did these tickets. We got bleacher seats.
Probably all proud. Well, to be fair, bleacher seats are usually the cheapest in the whole place.
Yeah,
so.
I know, but still, I was just like, the F. But SuperBrawl 8, man, took place in 1998. We'll get into all that here soon, but it took place in the Cow Palace in San Francisco, which, again, we'll talk about when we get into the event itself. But this was the 3rd SuperBrawl to happen in the Cow Palace. And you told me the other day you've got some you got some good memories of the Cow Palace. You said it seemed like it's been lucky for you.
It has, yeah. I think this was the 2nd SuperBrawl, by the way. I don't think it was there in 96.
Yeah, SuperBrawl 7 was there. SuperBrawl 6, yeah, okay, never mind. SuperBrawl 9, however, took place in Oakland at the Oakland Arena.
At that one, too.
Yeah, so I like how they go from the Cow Palace to the Oakland Arena. Which was better?
Oh, easily the Oakland Arena.
Wow, really? Oh, that's
easily.
What's the Oracle now. Okay.
Yeah. Cow Palace, as much as I love it, is a dump. It's like it literally smells like cow crap. So. But
then they go back to the Cow Palace for SuperBrawl 2000. So,
my only thought there is they had a rodeo book that day.
Probably.
It's either a rodeo, a gun show, or a tattoo expo. The top 3 things they always have there.
We're going to get into all the news and notes from the time. There is a lot to get into. Again, we're going to take the biggest part of the podcast, probably talking about that. Not that the event was not, noteworthy itself, but there's some stuff to talk about, man. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, It's news and notes.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
We're back, but before we get into the news and notes from the time, make sure that you visit unhingedsn.com. You can hear us every single Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. That's p.m. We come on the air right when NXT and AEW Dynamite hit the air on the East Coast. You ready to get into the news from late February of 98?
Yeah, tell me who passed away.
Well, you know who passed away here. We got to talk about it.
I wasn't even trying to be funny. This is a thing. Every time we do a damn show, someone else passed away. It's sad, but...
I know. Well, I try to open the news with that so that we can kind of move past the death and everything early and just move on. But, I mean, this one's like a three-prong story here we got to get into. But Louis Spicolli passed away this week from a drug overdose at the age of 27. You and I are both older than that, so that just blows my mind. He was found dead by a friend who stayed over at his house that night and who was going to wake him up so that he could catch his flight to Nitro. His friend smelled a bad odor, and when he opened the door to Spicolli's room, he found him face down on the floor with vomit everywhere, and his body was already swollen and discolored. Spicoli had reportedly taken 26 somas and washed it down with a lot of wine. His friend had been concerned about his pill usage and actually hid the bottle that night, but he apparently searched the house and found it. I can't even imagine. It doesn't say who the friend was. I assume it's nobody with any name value, but it's just like, I can't imagine finding anybody that way, but let alone, a good friend. Especially after you took time the night before to hide his pills.
Yeah, I know. I remember none of us, at least at the time, there was no internet. We didn't have smartphones and all this stuff, so I didn't even know about it until the next night on Nitro. And if they said it, I missed it.
Yeah.
Because it opened up with like a graphic, rest in peace, Louis, and then I think he was supposed to wrestle Zbyszko that night. And it just never happened.
Yeah, that's actually the second prong of the story here was backstage at Nitro. The mood was said to be some sadness and surprise, but mostly business as usual. They acknowledged Spicoli's death on air, and Larry Zbyszko, who was feuding with Spicoli at the time of his death, basically stayed in kayfabe and refused to say anything about Spicoli. Otherwise, WCW didn't acknowledge it beyond that.
I was an ECW guy.
Yeah, I can't remember if I'm pretty sure it was Bischoff who said this, or it might have been, I couldn't think of anybody else who would talk about this. It might have been Tony Schiavone, but, they talked about, how they didn't really mention it much, and they said, well, not to, trivialize his death, because obviously it's not trivial or anything. It's a death, especially one like this. But they said, he was kind of an undercard guy, didn't get a whole lot of press and everything. So they're like, do you think that's why? Like, yeah. Unfortunately, probably. So,
yeah, but it wasn't a high-profile feud, too.
Yeah. It's just, they definitely should have acknowledged it more, but I don't know, maybe the only thing I can think of is the circumstances.
I was going to say, I don't think they wanted to say, hey, one of our guys OD'd.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something recently Bischoff talked about when I think Vince McMahon had taken some shots. It was during the Billionaire Ted skits, and he was taking shots about steroid use in WCW, and Bischoff's retort was like, really? You're going to go there? He's like, 2 of my guys I just signed from your company just failed a drug test. And you're going to go on to me about drug usage? So, yeah, the third prong of this Louis Spicolli thing was that his death had naturally led to a lot of discussion within all of the companies this week about how to handle drug problems that are so common in the business. Bischoff claims that he was unaware that Spicolli had any history of drug issues. All right, I'm going to pause right there. I find that hard to believe. Like, apparently this was, well known for years. Hey, Spicolli is, doing a lot of things. I know
he was in WWE as a jobber for quite a while, too.
Yeah, well, apparently that's why he got fired from WWE, was drug usage. So how did Bischoff, his boss, not have any knowledge of this?
Oh, again, he's not a name, so they probably didn't do a lot of research on him.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm not trying to bury the guy, but I'm not trying to be funny, but like, really, think about it. Like,
well,
how much review would you do on Louis Spicolli?
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, apparently, and this is just a rumor. I'm going to preface that, but he did a lot.
Oh Lord, what did Uncle Dave say?
Well, he did a lot of wrestling down in Mexico. His name down in Mexico was Madonna's boyfriend, which just makes me chuckle.
For years, I knew that name. I didn't know who it was. I remember that.
Yeah, the first time I saw him was on their When Worlds Collide show, and they kept saying Madonna's boyfriend. I'm like, the hell is that? I'm like, wait a minute, Spicoli? Okay.
Wasn't T.L. Hopper at one point the dirty white boy? You just never know.
Yes.
You never know who these guys are.
Yeah, I mean, that one seems to fit more than Madonna's boyfriend. But this one, the rumor was that he went to Mexico and he would be basically a mule for the boys in the locker room. So, I mean, supposedly that's why the Clique loved him so much, was because he was their mule from Mexico.
Good Lord.
Again, this is all rumor and innuendo, but, I mean, that doesn't sound super far-fetched.
It also explains why they put him with Scott Hall right away.
No,
also, if you go back and watch his stuff in WCW, I feel like he was, like, only with Scott Hall. Not like with the NWO, with Scott Hall.
Yeah, good buddies, I'm sure. Yeah, well,
let's not touch that obvious low-hanging fruit, please.
Gosh. Bischoff also says that WCW randomly drug tests at stars, and all wrestlers take mandatory drug tests when they sign. He also denied that anyone has contract stipulations that they won't be tested. He says that when WCW wrestlers fail drug tests, it's not publicized due to a confidentiality agreement that wrestlers who fail are required to attend educational classes. Spicoli was allegedly tested twice during his time with WCW and passed both times, although he had a prescription for the somas, so having that in his system wouldn't be considered failing. WWF had acknowledged that they were aware of Spicoli's drug problems and even discussed it with him before releasing him last year, and in fact, his out-of-control drug problem is the reason why they eventually fired him.
Damn, man.
Yeah, so...
There's a lot there.
Yeah, a lot to unpack, but first of all, I mean, again, with a low-hanging fruit, it's when Bischoff was like, well, we drug test all of our stars. Okay, so Disco Inferno is, like, exempt. I'm sorry.
Wow. And Conan.
He was over his F in Mexico, all right? Yeah, no, this is just a lot. I mean, yeah, if he has a prescription for the somas, that's not anything that would pop up. So maybe that's why. I don't think the drug test tells you how much they have in their system. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not super familiar with how drug tests work. I haven't taken a lot in my life, but yeah, I don't know. Either way, next thing here, moving on past Spicoli, was Vince McMahon appeared on TSN's Off the Record show in an interview about the Montreal Screwjob. For the first time, McMahon admitted that he lied to Bret about the finish of the match. Vince admitted that he regretted signing Bret to a 20-year contract, saying that he made the mistake.
You don't say.
Yeah. He said he made the mistake of listening to people around him at the time who told him that they couldn't let Bret go to WCW. He claimed that Bret breached his contract by refusing to drop the title, and Vince said that he lied to Bret about the planned finish of the match because he worried that Bret wouldn't go to the ring otherwise. Vince denied that Bret Hart is a Canadian hero, which the host disagreed with, and Vince said that since wrestling is scripted, if Bret is a Canadian hero, it's only because Vince made him one. Vince also claimed that he allowed Bret to punch him because he basically felt that he owed him an explanation and was willing to take it if Bret wanted to hit him.
What's a man?
As such an effing man. Man, it's just, again, a lot to unpack here. I really don't know what to say about all this. Getting to the breach contract and all that and lying to Bret. First of all, you and I both, it seems from our reaction, we both kind of agree that's like, yeah, signing someone to a 20-year contract, especially like right here when they're losing to WCW and the ratings wars and all that stuff. Probably wasn't a smart move.
Yeah, right.
Like, I get why you want to, keep him, but for God's sake, this, like, huh? But
Good call.
And the contract, yeah, the breach of contract thing. I think I can probably guess your reaction is probably the same as mine. Like, yeah, you're, telling your boss, I don't want to do what you're telling me to. I know I signed your contract and I'm taking your money, but no.
I don't
agree with any of that.
Especially when you get a 20-year deal, too. I mean, that only adds to it. Like, man, this guy had faith in you for 20 years. Now you're giving him the finger.
Yeah. I know. It's like, look, I don't want to, so no thank you. What? I don't know. The Undertaker talked about this recently, now that he's out doing interviews as Mark Calloway, finally. He said, looking back on it, he said, I wish they would have, let Brett drop the belt to me, and then I would have dropped it to Shawn, and then we could have avoided all of this. Because the whole thing wasn't necessarily that, it finally came out, it wasn't that Brett necessarily was like, well, I don't want to drop the belt in Canada. It's, I don't want to drop the belt in Canada to Shawn.
And Shawn dropped, he ended up losing in America to Austin.
Yeah. Well, he said his thing was because, he told Shawn, I guess, one time, is like, I have no, I'll drop the belt to you and all this other stuff. And he was like, oh, thanks, man. And he's like, I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't do the same for you. And apparently that pissed Brett off so bad. And he's like, well, F you, I'm keeping the belt. So,
we need to meet.
This whole
feelings
thing.
Are hurt.
This whole thing was just so stupid on both guys' parts. Shawn couldn't keep his mouth shut and his junk in his pants. And frickin' Brett was just, I never thought about this until, it might have been Conrad had pointed this out the other day. Conrad Thompson, he said, if you listen to shoot interviews from people, like, looking back, everybody seems like, yeah, I mean, maybe that wasn't the best thing, or I would have changed this if I could go back or whatever. But if you listen to Brett's shoot interviews in retrospect, it's always, oh, this guy did this to me, and oh, this could have been so good if they would have let me do this. And it's like, dude, can you not ever criticize yourself about anything? Like, everything was always somebody else's fault?
You're right. I'm perfect. I never made any mistakes.
Well, it sounds like and I'm not I might get grilled online for this, but, don't at me. But it's like, it sounds like a Vince Russo thing. Because if you ever listen to any Russo stuff, Russo never takes responsibility. He's always, well, standards and practices, or Jim Cornette, or, whoever. It's never him.
Nope.
But yeah, so this whole thing, and the Canadian hero line kind of made me laugh. Like, well, I agree that he's, I say that he's a Canadian hero, and Vince is like, well, I mean, if he is, it's because I scripted him to be one.
Just like Hogan.
Yeah, I mean, I get Vince's point. I mean, yeah, he's
without WWE, he doesn't have the platform to be a big star. Let's be fair.
Yeah,
because he wasn't in Stampede, so there's that.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with Vince on this stuff. I'm just thinking it's like, what does it take to be a quote unquote Canadian hero?
Well, you gotta know to play hockey. You have to like red wine, and you have to like snow.
And you, at some point, have had to pet a moose.
We're in trouble. We're getting a letter.
Oh, and you love maple syrup. Not the fake crap that says imitation on the bottle. No, the real stuff that comes straight out the tree.
And bacon is ham. Nothing else.
Exactly. Well, what is this crispy crap you put on my plate? No, I want Canadian bacon, a.k.a. well-cooked ham. All right, moving on here before we piss off more people. There's been a lawsuit going on between the Ultimate Warrior and the WWF over the Warrior likeness. This week, a judge ruled that Warrior is allowed to use the name Warrior and all the characteristics of the character, face paint, armbands, etc., in any marketing ventures, but the judge did not make a decision on Ultimate Warrior, so that one is still off limits, and would be forever. So, I mean, the only way the Warrior got around all this was he changed his name legally from Jim Hellwig to Warrior.
Yeah, because that wasn't a weird thing to do.
Yeah, perfectly effing normal, Greg. I don't know what you're getting at, all right?
That's like Johnny Gargano literally changed his name to his last name to wrestling. I am
Yeah.
now Johnny Wrestling.
That would be
Dude,
hilarious.
Get that out of your head, dude. Jeez.
Or Phil Brooks is now officially CM Punk legally. Actually, that one would be sweet. And then like AJ Lee would now be AJ Punk. I would laugh.
That would be totally sweet.
AJ Punk and CM Punk. Like, man, that's a match made in Punk heaven. But yeah, I mean, the rumors of this was that Warrior wanted all this stuff so he could go to WCW, which he eventually did later this year. But we tried to block all of that out of our minds.
Hey,
Oh, well, I apologize. Do you want to remember that crap? I don't even know what to call it. It's just so bad.
It was good TV, pal.
Sure. Yeah. Like watching an operation is good TV. Anyway, Shawn Michaels has been diagnosed with having 2 herniated discs in his lower back. The timing, of course, has people rolling their eyes and saying that it's predictable since he's scheduled to drop the title to Steve Austin at WrestleMania. It comes almost 1 year to the day of his, quote, lost smile speech, where he vacated the WWF title rather than do a job to Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Since that time, Shawn has won 2 more titles and has avoided doing every job in his path along the way. The current back injury stems from a casket match at the Royal Rumble with The Undertaker, where he hit his back on the edge of the casket. You were there for that one as well.
I was.
Michaels was given cortisone shots and told to stay bedridden for a week, causing him to miss the No Way Out of Texas pay-per-view. He was replaced in the main event 8-man tag match at the last minute by Savio Vega, and the crowd went mild.
Wow, yeah. Mild, man. That's putting it mildly. No pun intended. Huh?
Yeah. My favorite phrase, you could have heard a mouse piss on cotton. I just like how they're like, our replacement partner, and the Savio Vega's music hits, and they're like,
I don't even remember who I thought it was going to be.
According to Bruce Pritchard, he was like, there was literally no one. Because Conrad roasted him.
Yeah, because like there was nobody to be used. Everyone was being used.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and he was like, well, we wanted a good wrestler, which Savio was. We wanted to get the match in the ring, and there's nobody else. It's like, look, we just got to bite the bullet and throw him out there. And, and it was in Texas, and obviously, Stone Cold was the Texas guy on the other team, but Shawn was from Texas as well, so they missed out on seeing 2 of their biggest stars and just got the one. I don't know, but yeah, this was you and I were too young at the time. We weren't thinking anything about this crap, but looking back on it, Kevin Nash to this day maintains, oh, he just lost his smile again. Like, really? Because he did have major back surgery after this. It's a little bit more than a lost smile, I'd say.
He's one to talk.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, why'd you lose? Oh, I lost my booking privileges.
Wow.
John Tenta tried a workout match at the latest WWF tapings using his old earthquake gimmick, but he lost a lot of weight. Well, he would not come in as Earthquake, but he would get a job. So there's that.
Yeah, as what? Talk about it.
Yeah, he put on a mask, wear a Cartman shirt and sweatpants, and call himself Golga in the oddities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know who that was until like 2000 something. I really didn't.
Yeah. It was something. I don't really know what else to say about it other than it was something.
They got South Park over with wrestling fans.
Yeah, he carried around that stuffed Cartman too. I realized South Park was a big taboo thing at the time, but it seemed like everybody in WWF was obsessed with Cartman. Because you had the New Age Outlaws coming out wearing Cartman shirts.
Brand new. I think that everyone jumped right on immediately. To be fair, it's not like it was on for 3 seasons at that point. I think 98 was his first season, so I think people latched on quickly. Just to be fair, no one's like hopping on the latest fad.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was all taboo, and I'm sure it was super over with with all them, or with the fans. Wow. But anyway, former WCW star Jacqueline is backstage at Raw and will probably be getting a shot in the WWF. Spoiler, she did.
With Marvelous Mark.
Yeah. This one, well, don't forget she was part of PMS as well, man.
Oh man, lest I forget that.
Well, yeah.
She probably did more with that anyway. So.
Yeah.
They were responsible for bringing in the Great Meat. Man, forgot about that.
Yeah. That. Whew. I don't know where to go with that. Anyway. This next story is back on the kind of the Spicoli thing, but it's an ECW story, so I left it at the end here, or towards the end here. Sabu and RVD were shows in Europe this week. The word is Sabu found out about Louis Spicoli's death just as they were leaving Germany, and he was inconsolable and in tears for most of the flight back to the U.S.
Oh.
Man, that one freaking sucks. I can't imagine seeing Sabu just break down crying.
I just feel like the way he is on TV, it just looks like he doesn't give a damn about anything. Yeah,
if anybody read his damn book, you would also think he doesn't give a damn about anything. He definitely doesn't give a damn about proper grammar and pronunciation and spelling and all that stuff. But either way, ECW's upcoming Living Dangerously pay-per-view will feature a pre-taped match between Sabu and Sandman. The reasoning is because the Sabu-Sandman match at November to Remember was widely considered one of the worst matches of the year, so in order to avoid a repeat of that, they will tape the match in advance and edit it to make it watchable in the event that it ends up being terrible again.
How good is your production?
Yeah. Are you bringing in like the guys who would go on to edit Avengers? Because maybe. ECW will acknowledge that it's pre-taped, and the gimmick is going to be that the pay-per-view censors have forbid them to air the match, but they're going to defy the censors and do it anyway. Because they're badasses.
Rebels.
Yeah, badasses, Greg. I don't get that one. Look, this was widely considered one of the worst matches of all time. Let's book it again.
Run it back.
Look, I hear Sabu and Sandman, and I know I'm reaching for my wallet. I mean, to hold on to it, because I don't want to get pickpocketed, not to pay for anything.
Why the hell are you even in that building?
I'm lost and scared. But moving on to WCW here. This is this is a story I wanted to talk about because I was like, holy crap, it happened at this time. Eddie Guerrero went to Eric Bischoff and asked for his release, but Bischoff refused and actually yelled at him, although he later apologized. This was the famous incident where Bischoff allegedly threw his coffee at Guerrero, although Eddie later said that he just knocked it off the desk by accident when he was slamming his fist on the desk while yelling.
But he sure made it really dramatic on TV.
Yeah, I know. Didn't they make an angle out of that in WWE?
I don't think they made an angle. He mentioned it a couple times.
Somebody said there was a scene where somebody like poured coffee on themselves and was like, I want my release. Like, what the hell?
I don't remember that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I gotta.
Must have been a quick one and done thing.
Yeah, that was a very inside baseball kind of thing too, because that wasn't like I mean, if you weren't reading dirt sheets, you didn't know anything about this. But yeah,
or watching Being the Elite.
Oh gosh, yeah, it sounds like something that would be on Being the Elite actually. This one, like Bischoff has come out because like Conrad roasted him about it. He's like, "Did you seriously throw your coffee at Eddie?" And he's like, "No." Like, look, I know that Eddie, I never heard any stories about like Eddie being super unprofessional, like with management and stuff like that. But I mean, he's called Latino Heat for a reason.
Yeah, right.
I don't see him being cool with Eric Bischoff throwing coffee on him if that actually happened. So I have a feeling that he would have beat the crap out of Bischoff and then got escorted out of the building by security or police, one of the two. Yeah, and I can't imagine Bischoff being stupid enough to throw coffee on Eddie. But yeah, obviously,
especially if he wasn't going to release him.
Right. Yeah. If he was going to do that, I imagine it'd be like a running, like as he's running by, he flips coffee on him. You're fired, and then takes off.
Sounds like a bad comedy.
Being the Elite. Anyway, yeah. Eddie obviously wouldn't get released until the end of '99, beginning of 2000 actually. So This was not going to go anywhere.
Talking about, man, made for a good segment on Nitro. Nowhere.
Yeah. All right, man. Final story. This one just, I have to preface this by, okay,
That's
this
never
was
ever good.
The thing I said earlier about Spicoli, about the, somebody saying, well, if he was a bigger star, do you think that, I remember that was Schiavone that said that, because I remember Schiavone flat out saying this story was complete BS, but I've got to read it because it's just absurd on its face. WCW has been doing an angle with referee Nick Patrick trying to get reinstated, and the plan was to bring in one of O.J. Simpson's lawyers on his behalf, either Johnny Cochran or Robert Shapiro. At first, Cochran said that he could not do it, so they went to Shapiro, who agreed. But just a few days before the pay-per-view, he backed out of the deal. WCW frantically tried to get Cochran back on board, but he said that he would be interested, but he had previous commitments.
They couldn't get Clarence Mason?
Yeah, he was all tied up at this time, I guess. Was Robert Kardashian dead at this point? Because couldn't they get him?
I don't know when he died, actually.
Yeah, so it's like, what? Like, you go to right to Shapiro, not Kardashian? Like, Ross from Friends played him on TV.
Wow. You brought that up.
What? He died in 2003, so he was still very much alive here. So, but yeah, I don't know. Tony Schiavone said all this was complete BS. He said there was absolutely no way in hell they would have been talking to Cochran and Shapiro, and they would not have gotten caught with their pants down at this point like this. So I tend to believe, because if you ever listen to Tony Schiavone's podcast, that's why he does watch-along forums, because the first couple of podcasts was just him going, I don't recall. And Conrad was like, look, I can't have an hour and a half of I don't recall. So let's just do a watch-along, and you talk about what you're seeing in front of you. But so when he actually says, I remember this, it didn't happen, like, you can usually take that to the bank.
It's like oxymoronic. I remember this. It didn't happen.
Well, it's more of a, I remember this angle, and none of this crap happened in the course of us talking about this angle. But yeah, you're right. The first, I would say, I'm like, did I word that wrong?
No, you probably didn't. That's probably something you would say. He's an idiot.
Schiavone? How dare you?
I've heard him speak on AEW, dude. Yeah.
How dare you put down Skivone?
Hey, I like him. I think I'm one of the only people in this world besides you that likes him, so.
Yeah, you and I are good friends, good friends. Yeah, I can't imagine being friends with Tony Schiavone. You and I are big fans of Tony Schiavone, and I can't remember the amount of people that I've talked to that were not fans of his.
I don't know why. I don't think he's bad. Was he ever the best? Hell no, but he's not bad.
A lot of people point to the same thing. I mean, Tony Schiavone himself says this now, that he said he can't go back and listen to himself because he said he oversold everything and reused like the same tired lines over and over.
He did, yeah, but that's part of my childhood that I like, so.
Yeah. I mean, I still get a chuckle every time he says the biggest night in the history of our great sport.
Yeah. That's probably the worst one.
He refuses to say that anymore, by the way. Conrad has tried, and he was like, I'm not saying that effing line. He was like, just once. I mean, this actually fits. And he was like, nope, not going to say it. I made a promise.
That's the thing. There's a couple moments he could say it would have fit. Just like he bastardizes it so much that, it's like, I don't want to hear it again.
Yep. I don't know. But anyway, that is it for the news and notes. I think it's time to take our next break and move into SuperBrawl 8. We'll be right back.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back. But before we dive into the event at hand, make sure that you visit unhingedsn.com if you're not already there, and hear us every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right when AEW Dynamite and NXT kick off, that on the East Coast, that is. By the way, we also have encore presentations of the show throughout the week. If you miss it, the next time you can catch us, by the way, if you're listening to us on Wednesday, is 7:30 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Time.
And kids, you don't even need your parents' permission.
Exactly. Just go to unhingedsn.com. No parent permission required. And we keep it clean on this show, Greg. We only talk about death, sex, and drugs, in a news form.
Oh my God.
We do. I mean, we're not being filthy about it. God dang it.
That's good crap, pal.
You know what I think? We always joke about how. Wow. We always joke about how god awful Tony Khan is on camera and everything. I think it would be hilarious if he mocks Vince McMahon, but he keeps it more PG and he's like, well, that's good content, buddy.
Don't give that man any more ideas.
Oh man, I would bust a gut laughing. All right, but WCW SuperBrawl 8 took place February 22nd, 1998. Tagline was Hogan versus Sting 2 for championship. Not the championship, just for championship. So,
yeah, because they give you any of the titles, pal.
Yeah, they might be. They might be going for the TV title. You don't know. The venue was Cow Palace.
We all know that Hogan was a great TV champion.
Yeah, he rubs that Fu Manchu. TV title works for me, brother.
Despite never being on TV, by the way.
Yeah. The venue was Cow Palace in San Francisco, California. The attendance was 12,620, and the pay-per-view buy rate was 1.1. That was 399,415 buys. So
not bad.
Good amount of pay-per-view buys there. WWE has single-handedly made sure that nobody will ever buy pay-per-view ever again. Moving forward, you just get your streaming membership to it was soon to be Peacock, and there you go.
Which, by the way, be getting it for free.
Yeah, screw you. Which, by the way, we did a YouTube video talking about all that. If anybody wants all the details on it, it's on our YouTube channel about the whole Peacock deal and anything that you as a consumer might actually need to know.
And if you're on Peacock, by the way, there's a lot of content on there now from WWE Network, so it's migrating over quickly.
Yep, March 18th is when it launches, everybody, so it's quickly approaching. The opening package just lets us know that this entire event is building up to Sting vs. Hogan 2, as it should be.
And nothing else matters.
There's a mark with the look, bro, wearing a lucha mask, sitting on hard cam like all night, and he doesn't move an inch all effing night. He doesn't clap.
You found me.
Wow. Did you catch this guy?
It's been a while since I watched this back. I'll watch it back because I feel like I didn't need to because I've seen it a bunch of times, like obviously live and after that.
Right.
So,
To me, I was thinking, is that a chibi evil Uno? This guy was wearing like a weird green lucha mask, and you remember that guy I sat next to in Brooklyn that was rather large, sitting alone, and he just golf clapped like twice throughout the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy looked like that, but he didn't even golf clap. He just sat there with his arms folded over his belly the whole time. I'm like, why are you here?
This is all you got?
Yeah, and we didn't have cell phones back then, so, he was probably like taking mental notes. I'm going to go back and send a report to Dave Meltzer via email. Get on my Yahoo and send him an email saying, worst show ever.
I was going to say, dude, this is in San Francisco. There's a good chance Dave was there.
Yeah, he very well might have been. I didn't even think about that, because he lives in San Jose, for people who don't know. Yeah, right down the road from you. Why haven't you gone to visit?
Yeah, we pee together. That's good enough.
People are going to hear that and be like, what the hell? He was at a Sharks game. Next to him in the urinal was a different urinal, I hope, was Dave Meltzer. So, but anyway, this first match of the night was Rick Martel defending the WCW World Television Title against Booker T. This was just shy of 10.5 minutes. Booker T wins when Martel comes off the ropes and gets caught with a Harlem sidekick for the pin. Martel actually suffered a torn knee ligament during the match when he hit his legs on the rope after a hip toss from Booker T. And I think there was another move, too, that made it worse. Martel was originally booked to win the match, but they improvised after the injury due to the next match also being for the title. So
yeah,
Booker T was not expected to be out there this long. But crap happens, pal. And wasn't this the end of Martel's career?
At least in WCW, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think he went anywhere else. I think he just he was like, damn, got an injury. All right, bye. It's been fun. And then he went to I assume he made a lot of money in real estate. So why is that a thing, by the way? You leave wrestling, you go into real estate.
Must just be easy transition.
Although in the case of Rick Steiner, I guess he joined the school board.
Didn't he get thrown off too for lying about his last name?
Oh, I don't know. His last name is actually Rex Steiner. That's where they get Rick Steiner from. Like, oh, take your last name and split it in half. But Uncle Dave gave this 2 3/4 stars. I gave it 2.5 for average. What say you?
I gave it 2.
Did you like it? Not like it?
It was okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was like.
I don't even remember when
crap.
Martel got hurt though.
No, I couldn't.
Because if you go back and watch it, he did not look hurt.
No, I mean, to his credit, he was always a great wrestler. Former AWA World Champion, I believe. I know he was a big deal up in AWA. And he was the model, obviously, in WWE. I don't know.
He was a model. He had a pin that said
it. And he carried around that giant freaking thing.
Arrogance.
Like he was Gorgeous George 2.0.
Yeah, but, he wishes.
Wow. After the match, Saturn runs in. He throws Martel outside. He then locks in the Rings of Saturn on Booker T, but the referee makes him break it so they can officially begin the match. This next one is Booker T defending the television title against Saturn. I don't think he's Perry Saturn anymore. He's just Saturn. This was before Vince made it cool to do that. This went for 14 minutes, 23 seconds. In the end, Booker T ends up retaining the title with another Harlem sidekick into a pin. Uncle Dave gave this 1 1/4 stars. I gave it 2 stars. What say you?
I gave it 2, but honestly, it was a little better than the last one.
It was okay, I thought. My problem with it was, and I know why, it made sense logically because Booker just had that match, but I mean, most of this match was just Saturn beating up Booker T. And then Booker T makes a comeback. It's Harlem sidekick. Boom, he wins. I will say the craziest move of the match, I thought, was Saturn did the Vader bomb to the outside.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. He was doing that eventually with the elbow instead of a splash too.
Yeah,
Who else did that? Who did that in WWE?
No, I don't remember, but
someone did that.
It was like, man, how did you not give yourself like serious injuries after a while and mess up your knees? But either way, yeah. So this next match was, I don't know why this was on the card, but here we are. It's La Parka versus Disco Inferno. It went for 11 minutes, 41 seconds.
I remember watching this, and we're like, man, this match is still going. It was that bad. I think this is like the first time I ever at a wrestling event I got bored.
I will preface this by saying I don't think the match was bad. I just didn't care about it. So, I mean, if you know what I mean?
I do. And like, if it was for a title, which I don't know why the hell it would be, it might have made more sense.
Yeah. Well, Mike Tenay calls a tope suicida, and Bobby Heenan asks if you get that with chips and salsa. And Tony Schiavone was like, and you're done. Disco Inferno throws La Parka off the middle rope, face first into an open chair in the center of the ring because La Parka set it up before he hits the Chartbuster, which was the stunner, for the win.
Oh man, this disco music breaking a chart.
He said he actually had to stop doing that move, and what was the next one, like his finisher after that? The Last Dance?
Was it the Rude Awakening?
I don't remember. I can't remember what his finisher was. I remember he said he specifically said he had to stop doing the Chartbuster. He was told by Bischoff because they were gonna let Beefcake start doing it.
Oh yeah, the Apocalypse. Oh, yeah, that was way better.
When he was the disciple. Man. Anyway, Uncle Dave gave this 2 1/4 stars. I gave it 2 stars, for slightly below average. What say you?
I gave it a whole star.
I would have given it 2.5 stars at least if it meant anything whatsoever. But again, it didn't, so I didn't care. You got to make me care.
I will
pal.
say this, man. People were going crazy for his entrance.
Disco?
Yeah, people like literally were dancing all over the damn Cow Palace for it.
Wow, really?
Really?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I did notice the crowd was like getting into it, and I was like, huh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why people love that music.
I mean, I admit I was like 7, but when I was a kid, whenever he came out, I was like, hell yeah, Disco Inferno, and I'd dance or whatever. I'm, watching like WCW Saturday Night or something. But again, I was 7, so put that into perspective. Mean Gene Okerlund is interviewing the chairman of the WCW Executive Committee.
Excuse me, he was just in the ring.
Yeah, that's a different chairman. This one is the chairman of the Executive Committee, J.J. Dillon, about whether Dillon will or will not reinstate referee Nick Patrick after the quote-unquote fast count that wasn't a fast count at Starrcade.
This whole thing made no sense.
Yeah. Well, J.J. calls out Patrick to let him know that they reviewed the tape and he's got his job back. And Nick talks about officiating the main event right down the middle. And Dillon says he will not be reffing the main event. We already drew straws, and it will go to Charles Robinson. And he leaves. And Patrick is not very happy about this. He says that being the head official in WCW, he should be reffing the main event, and he wants his back pay.
It took them 2 months to realize that he didn't pass count, by the way.
Yeah, I know. This is the one thing we've made it known we are not a fan of any, most things. I'd say 99% of what Dave Meltzer says. But he was saying this whole thing was just stupid and didn't make one bit of sense because it's like, so they didn't have a plan for this. J.J. Dillon just came out and was like, hey, you remember that ruling I made? Never mind. Yeah. So basically J.J. Dillon looks like an idiot, and Nick Patrick is a sympathetic babyface at this point. It's like, wait a minute, why did Bret Hart beat him up? Why did you fire him? And why did you withhold his pay? Oh, reasons.
By definition, Bret should have been fired.
Right? He laid his hand on an official. God dang it. And that was his, second night in the company or whatever. All right. Anyway, somebody who, talk about, wow, you stuck around for a long-ass time. It's Brad Armstrong versus Bill Goldberg in 2 minutes, 23 seconds.
First thing I remember for this, when we were watching it, we heard the famous Armstrong music.
Yeah,
and we're like, the other guy's winning.
Good Lord.
I remember that so specifically. It was winning this one, the other guy.
Well, then you hear Goldberg's music, and you're like, this is a quick one. Yeah, just like...
I feel like this match was 10 seconds.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, everybody, this was... First of all, how long had Goldberg been in the company? A month?
September.
Oh, since September? Okay. So he hadn't been in the company long. He was doing his winning streak thing. He still kind of sucked. And Brad Armstrong was a great hand. Everybody said he was a great wrestler. He just, his personality was just eh. Apparently he had tons of personality and very likable backstage, but once that red light came on, he was like, So,
I forgot what to do.
Yeah, which is why he had 1.5 million gimmicks. Right. He comes from one of the most, the biggest, most charismatic names of, the Southern Indies, or Southern Territory days. And...
That's not named on Eric.
Yeah. And he just is there. I don't know. Brad Armstrong was the perennial jobber that had a job forever in WCW. Scott was the ref, right? Or is the ref?
Yeah, is the ref, yeah.
Okay. And then Steve, I think, passed away, but he was one half of the Southern Boys. It's the only thing I remember him from. And then Brian is obviously the Road Dogg. So nobody really talks about that family a whole lot when they talk about wrestling dynasties, but
you just call the Armstrongs a wrestling dynasty. Oh my God.
It's probably because of all the descriptions I just gave for every member of the family. So
that's not a dynasty, dude.
Yeah, it was a wrestling family. I don't know. But anyway, Brad was clearly thrown in here just to make Goldberg look less green. Greenberg. because Goldberg is still very much a rookie. Goldberg wins with a spear and a jackhammer. Go figure. Uncle Dave and I both gave it 1 star because it was there.
Yeah.
How do
you give it any more than that?
Yeah, I know. Goldberg tries with his heel hook at one point, is like rolling through heel hook and damn near lands on his own head. So that was something. It just he got better. Yeah. Goldberg, who by the way just wrestled in the opening match of the Royal Rumble this, just a few weeks ago as the posting of this. Did you notice him limping, by the way?
No.
Yeah, when he walked to the ring, I was like, something's off. He's like limping. Like, not like hardcore limping, but you could tell, like, I was like, did he pull a muscle or something? And then at the end, he looked like he was like beat to hell. But all in all, I liked it for what it was. But anyway, moving from the big guy to the little guys here, we got Chris Jericho defending the Cruiserweight title in a mask versus title match against Juventud Guerrera. This went for 13.5 minutes. Chris Jericho refuses to take off the Cruiserweight title to begin the match, so he wrestles with it on until Juvi does a spin kick to the belt and knocks it right into his gut, and he's like, okay, I'll take it off.
Yeah. I remember we all thought that Juventud was going to win. It's like, he's not losing his mask. If anything, of all the matches this night, I thought this was the one that was in the bag. How wrong was I?
I mean, it looked very obvious because, I mean, right here, Juventud hits a 450. He pins him. He thinks he won. And the bell actually rang prematurely, but Jericho had grabbed the bottom rope, and the referee did see it, and he waved it off. He's like, whoa, that's not the end. So they wrestle for a bit longer before Jericho turns a Hurricane Rana attempt into a Lion Tamer for the submission victory. Uncle Dave gave this 3 3/4 stars. I gave it 3 stars. What say you?
I gave it 3 as well. I mean, Juventud was the best wrestler in the world at this point, right?
We're getting to it. Yeah. This was really good, but I almost gave it 4 stars, but I couldn't because, I mean, it was a little clunky at times. Like, you could tell, like, Juventud was really good, but there were a few spots where I'm just
Juventud was on the juice, clearly.
Wow. Yeah, there were a few. I mean, and you could see this. The more people talk about it, he's like, oh, he's kind of clumsy. It's like, yes, he did a few moves where I'm like, my God, you almost killed yourself and Jericho. But all in all, it was very entertaining. I really loved it, especially like the second half of the match. I thought it really got going. It was very good. Supposedly, this happened because, Bischoff was just on a warpath to get everybody's mask, and Rey Mysterio had fought him and won to keep his mask. So he's like, fine, I can't get yours. Hoovy, you're going maskless.
Spoiler, he would get raised at this very event the next year.
Oh, I know. Jericho gets on the mic after the match, and he says he's still the champ thanks to all the Jerichoholics, and he dedicates this win to them. Jericho then keeps calling Hoovy Quasi Juice, and, in reference to Quasimodo, obviously.
Yeah, because clearly Juventud had a huge hump on his back.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and he kept talking about how ugly he was under the mask and everything. Hoovy finally gets the mask unlaced, and Jericho comes up and just rips the mask off and takes off with it. And Hoovy keeps.
He's like, he's ugly. Look at that horrible face. Like, what the hell's wrong with his face? Seriously, I'm looking at him like, what am I missing here?
Yeah, and then you look at him and you're like, my God, like just like when Ray unmasked, it's like that's one of the most handsome men on the entire roster, and he's wearing a mask.
Look at this. What was the word he used for it?
Oh, I don't know. I remember he just kept calling him Quasi Juice and Hoovy Moto and stuff like that. But yeah, so he's like legit. Hoovy is legit crying. I will say, I don't know if you remember your initial reaction. The crowd seemed kind of dead, and a little deflated.
I remember I kind of was, but not like for that reason. Well, like, wow, he really took his mask off, because it was like a spectacle to me. I'd never seen it, like even on TV.
Yeah.
So like to be there watching it live, I'm like, wow, he really took his mask off.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my thing. I don't know if everyone else was like that too, but yeah, I was kind of like in shock.
They did
It's
this
like,
with
even though he lost, it's like he's probably gonna run, right? Or he's gotta take the mask off, but the hair's gonna be in his face, so we're never gonna see it, right? Like he technically in a mask. I'm all thinking of all the loopholes he's gonna get around it.
And he did keep his hair in his face, like for the most part. For most of it, he was crying. He looked at the camera and he said, "I love you." He was talking to his family. Supposedly, he was very pissed off about this because his dad, for anybody that knows anything about Mexican wrestling, was Fuerza Guerrera that wrestled with a similar mask for years. So it was like it was passed down to him. And this was like really upsetting for Hoovy to have to take the mask off. But he didn't have the leverage to tell Bischoff no, like Ray did. I just like both years in a row that they did that, by the way. The guy that beat him acts like, oh, he's hideous.
Yeah, right.
Do you remember Matt, like when Ray unmasked Nash was like, whoa, put it back on. That's still one of my favorite things ever. He's like laughing. He's like, put it back on.
Do you remember when Psychosis unmasked at One Night Stand and the fans are telling him to put his mask on?
No, I don't remember that.
The first ever One Night Stand. Was it the first one? Yeah, it was him and Ray, right? It was him and Ray. And then he took his mask off, like, purposely. And then, like, put your mask on.
Good grief. And okay, I'm gonna bury him. Sorry, but we just talked about Hoovy and Ray were like handsome men who it's like whatever, you don't need a mask. But with Psychosis, it's like yeah, I mean you probably look better with a mask on.
Leave me alone.
Alberto was another one. It's like, dude, you didn't need a mask. I mean, he's a handsome man. But next we get into something that was bowling shoe ugly. It was Steve Mongo McMichael taking on the British Bulldog, 6 minutes, 10 seconds. This was what we were talking about when we reviewed Bulldog's debut in WCW on the SuperBrawl 3, oddly enough, 5 years before this. He came out to some random rock music, but here he's actually coming out to his, the British national anthem.
Britannia, I believe it's called.
Yeah, that. So he got his music back. I don't know why they didn't do it in 93, but whatever. The Bulldog works on Mongo's arm for quite a while before eventually locking in the Fujiwara armbar for the win, even though no one saw Mongo give up. Mongo legitimately... This was another one that Shivani laughed at because the report says Mongo legitimately suffered a broken arm during the course of the match, to which Shivani said, "Ha! False. It was already broken." I did not know that. Apparently he went into this match with a broken wrist. Uncle Dave gave this a dud. I give it 1.5 stars. What say you?
God, this sucked. One.
What do you mean? It's Mongo.
When I was a kid, I would hold all my piss because I didn't want to miss a minute of the action. If I'd watched this now, this would have been my piss break match, even before it started. Just going to say that.
You hear Mongo's music and you're like, I'll be back.
Yep.
Well, after the match, Mongo yells at the referee and shoves him down, saying that he never quit. But the referee apparently called for the bell and ended the match because he saw Mongo was hurt and he didn't want it to lead to further injury and blah, blah, blah. So that's that. Moving on.
Keep it moving here. Roll Tide. I haven't said it all podcast. Sorry.
Good grief. Up next, we get for the United States Heavyweight Title. It's Diamond Dallas Page defending the title against Chris Benoit.
Diamond Dallas, white trash.
Gosh. This one went for just shy of 16 minutes. The ending saw DDP reverse a backslide, flipping Benoit over his back onto his feet, and then he nails the Diamond Cutter, the pinfall win. Uncle Dave gave this 3 4 stars. This is the second match of the night I gave 3 stars to. What say you?
Same. Really good.
I assume you were going nuts in the crowd.
Maybe the match of the night. Oh yeah, definitely. I was all in on. I was hashtag all in on DDP at this point. Maybe the best match of the night though.
Yeah, this was very, very good. Definitely an enjoyable watch.
And this is before we knew how good Benoit really was. At least me.
Yeah.
So, I really believe
if you look, the big boys.
If you look up and down like the rosters of all the guys who were consistently on TV, so that takes a few guys out.
Yeah.
DDP was probably one of the best in the entire world at this point.
Oh, for sure. And
At least of guys who were always on TV.
Well, and Conrad Thompson put over the fact that he's like, there were two moves in 97 and 98 that, the crowd just went absolutely nuts for. And it was a quick hit. It was similar. There was the Stone Cold Stunner in WWF and the Diamond Cutter in WCW. They waited all match.
We were chanting Diamond Cutter all match, too. I don't know how they came off on TV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that happened a lot back then, too. I mean, it was probably the most, right up there with Stone Cold Stunner, maybe even more so. It was the most over move in all of wrestling. And he wasn't even the world champ. And it's for stuff like this, because after the match...
he would be for a year.
Right. Yeah, and after the match, DDP runs through the crowd, celebrating his win with the people. He did it for The Rock. He did it for the people.
Remember, he was the original People's Champ. The Rock stole that. That's a proven fact.
Yep. And he wanted to do a feud with The Rock when he came into WWE, and they said, nah, you're going to be the stalker for The Undertaker's wife.
So instead of the People's Champ, they went move for move with Booker. So,
yeah. I guess so.
It's not bad.
Yeah, and it's not usually considered a downgrade when you have to work with The Undertaker, but the fact that feud was based around DDP was stalking his wife. Just, okay. Commentary explains that the Jackknife Powerbomb has been banned by J.J. Dillon after Nash dropped the Giant on his neck with the move. We then get highlights of the Giant chokeslamming the piss out of everyone and then colliding with Nash before getting powerbombed on his neck and shoulders. Looking back at that, as a kid, I'm like, oh my gosh, he dropped him on his head. But if you look at it, it's still dangerous and scary given his size, even if he was a smaller guy, but especially given his size. But he landed mostly on his shoulders, I think. So I think that's what saved him.
Yep.
So, but I remember this whole storyline because I remember they were like, well, it's banned. You can't do it. And they started arresting Nash every time he hit a jackknife.
I remember when they arrested him, dragged him out of the arena, and he was yelling Attica.
What was that?
It was on Nitro.
No, what was Attica?
I think it was a movie, and they're arresting some guy or something.
Oh.
But I just thought it was funny he was yelling Attica.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that, and I was pissed because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so stupid. It's been going on for a while now. And at first they would fine him, and he would hit the jackknife, and then he'd pull money out of his pocket and throw it at him. And then they're like, all right, now you're just going to get arrested. So that started happening. But somebody brought up the point, and I guess Nash complained about this. He's like, okay, we're trying to get over that the powerbomb is banned, right? Because it's too dangerous. Well, cruiserweights are doing variations of the powerbomb during their match.
Yeah,
why am I the only one getting fined?
I remember that.
Yeah, that is pretty stupid, I will say. Somebody should have been like, hey, nobody does the effing powerbomb, all right? Just quit it. But, yeah, I can't believe, you called Match of the Night a little too early, because right now...
Oh, shut up.
It's the Macho Man, Randy Savage, with Miss Elizabeth in his corner. He's taking on Lex Luger in a no disqualification match. First of all, thinking about this, this one went for about 7.5 minutes. 2 out of 3 of these people are dead, and all 3 of them had a lot of connecting things with Miss Elizabeth. Sad to think about. And isn't Luger in a wheelchair or something?
I think he can walk now. I don't think he's relegated to it, but I think he was definitely in a wheelchair when I met him at WrestleCon.
Of all the
very
people,
frail too, man. Shaking his hand, I felt like I was gonna crush it if I squeezed. He's very frail, and it's so sad.
It's so weird to think about because God dang it, just look at him here. He was
vascular.
Yeah, he was giant. He was ripped and shredded and just tan, and he was ready for the main event of Starrcade, man. That's all I gotta say. But Luger comes out with his ribs taped up. When he finally gets Savage up for the torture rack, Liz comes in and rakes his eyes. Luger manages to rack Savage again, and Savage apparently submits, but the camera misses the entire finish, so I didn't see any of it.
I do remember watching this back and seeing that.
Yeah, because I was like, wait a minute, why is the bell ringing? It's like, because at first they ring the bell by accident because the NWO gets involved, and they ring the bell like it's a disqualification, but it's no DQ. So he racks him again, and he gives up really quickly, and then they ring the bell again. Were you confused in the crowd?
No, because we saw it.
Oh, okay. Well, because like I said, they ring the bell by accident when the NWO interferes, and then he racks him, and then he gives.
Here's the thing. If you watch Nitro back then, they rang that bell for like 10 minutes straight every single time there was an interference, so it all ran together.
Yeah. This. Well, let's get to the ratings. Uncle Dave gave this 3 3/4 of a star. I gave it 2 stars. What say you?
I was torn between 1 and 2. I'll go 2 because I was a little entertained.
Yeah, I was definitely entertained by it. You and I like Luger. I've always liked Macho Man. I mean, who doesn't? I thought it was fine. I just thought the ending was such a cluster, man.
Yeah, but again, was it anything new?
No, that's the sad part. Because after the match, the NWO hits the ring. The B team, by the way, hits the ring to fight with both men. Because even though Macho Man is wearing white and black, and he's coming out to the NWO theme, he is officially no longer a part of the NWO. So, that's not confusing.
Later.
Yeah, that's not confusing at all. But Hollywood Hogan finally comes out to order the B team to retreat. And this was during, I forgot to put this in the course of the match. He tells me, he's like, come on. And that's when Luger racks him and he taps. And he yells that Macho Man isn't family anymore. And he's like, I'm glad he got beat. Like, cool, I guess. I don't know.
I like the whole thing at this point, too, and they're getting ready to split and become 2.
Yeah.
I find it funny, though, that Nash is the one who has the face group, and he just broke a man's neck.
Yeah. Well, apparently, they split they legit split backstage, too. Because I guess there was something that happened. They were at a restaurant, and they were arguing loudly with one another. So this wasn't even like rumors. Like people heard them like arguing in the restaurant because
no innuendo.
Well, Hogan was fighting with the outsiders because he was like, he's like, I'm trying to get real heel heat out there, and you guys are it's survey time, and getting the crowd to go with you. He's like, stop it. They're like, you don't get it. We're cool heels. We get out of the crowd. It's like taboo to like us, and he's like, well, I'm trying to get boos, and you're getting cheered. This is screwing the whole thing up. So finally, they got tired of fighting with him, and they were like, fine, we'll go off and do our own thing. So, I don't know. Looking back, I mean, I didn't even think about that as a kid.
I didn't either.
But, I mean, I see Hogan's point where he's like, I'm trying to get boos, and you guys are out here getting the crowd to, quote you and everything. So, but at the same time, I mean, as a kid, I loved it, so. But this next match, by the way, I have an old WCW figure of Macho Man in this attire. And one of those brawling buddies. You remember those?
Yeah. I have so many Macho Mans, but I do not have a black and white one, believe it or not.
Oh, you didn't get the one from Mattel? I thought they dropped one with him in that attire.
They did. They dropped that one and his very last WCW look, but I never found him.
I have that one, the last one, where he's in the like the leather hat, whatever. And he's got like the shirt with the big silver star on it and everything. Yeah, I actually love that one. I remember specifically I was talking to you when they dropped that figure in the black and white, and you were like, oh, you're definitely getting that, right? And I was like, I don't know if I am or not. And you're like, oh, fail. And I'm like, I already have it. Like WCW, and you're like, oh, all right, well then that's fine.
I should have told you to get it from me.
Yeah. But
that's back when it was easy to find figs.
I know. Now I walk into Walmart and I'm like, oh, you have one basic John Cena on the shelf. Cool.
Yeah, when me and my buddy go out fig hunting, I'm like, at this point, I'm like, let's just skip Walmart.
It's the same in Target for me. Like, all of my stores are completely wiped out. I sent you that picture of Target where not one single figure was on the shelf.
Yep.
I don't know. It's February. What the F? But anyway, this next match is the second to last one of the night. It's the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott. They have Ted DiBiase in their corner. They are defending the WCW World Tag Team titles against the Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, with Dusty Rhodes in the corner, baby. Him and that
newly healed Dusty Rhodes.
him in that large red leather jacket. I'm like, first of all, where did you happen to find a red leather jacket? Second of all,
well, the red cows. Well, who knows that?
Well, second of all, how did you find one in that size? It just whatever. But
San
yeah, he wore
Francisco sells weird things, dude. What can I say?
Yeah. I could just imagine, like, he goes up, he's like, look what I found today, baby, when you're looking around San Francisco. And they're like, you should totally wear that out there. Like, I think it's going to be my signature look. And they're like, oh, for sure. Like, giving him the thumbs up.
He should have been wearing that while managing his son at the time, the artist formerly known as Goldust. Imagine that duo when he's wearing that. And
good grief.
He should be wearing that and Goldust's Baby New Year. Oh, man.
My God.
Think of the money he would draw.
Yeah, right. But anyway, this one went for 4 minutes and 16 seconds. You'll see why. The crowd did the whole...
Was it that short?
It was, yeah, from bell to bell. Not even 5 minutes. But the crowd obviously did the whole hey yo and it's survey time and everything.
Oh yeah, we ate that up.
Oh, I bet you did. I mean, that was over like hell back then. And I think this was during the time when Hall was starting to like tease hey yo and like not actually like just drop it right away. So he'd like get the crowd all whipped up. Scott Steiner seems pretty tentative throughout their entrance. This was apparently after like on a previous week on Nitro, Scott wrestled the whole match and refused to tag in Rick.
Yeah, you knew it was coming, by the way.
Yeah. Well, Rick starts the match, clears the ring, and then they do their signature spot where Scott comes in, Rick runs around barking, and then he crawls between his legs on all fours, and Scott gives him a wink, a nod, and then just pounds the piss out of Rick, knocks him down, and he gives him a double underhook suplex, punches DiBiase off the apron, and then he lets the Outsiders take care of Rick. Hall drops Rick Steiner with the Outsider's Edge. They get the win. Uncle Dave gave this 1 4 star. I gave it 1 star because, I mean, strictly on match quality, it was what it was. What say you?
1 star, and I'm even hesitant to call it a match.
Yeah, right. Like I said, less than 5 minutes. This was...
I mean, yeah, the moment was huge, though. Even though I feel like we all saw it coming. But...
Did you react big when it happened?
Yeah, I was kind of pissed. I mean, I like the Steiners, so looking back at it, though, I'm like, man, he should have just like whipped out an Ohio State shirt or something. You know, that's how big it was.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been funny. Like after Rick's like laid out in the ring, he pulls out an OSU shirt and just drapes it over him. So was it the next night on Nitro when he's the big bad booty daddy?
No, that comes like a couple of weeks after. It's pretty close.
Okay. Because I remember when he made his debut as Big Bad Booty Daddy, I don't remember like the week and the time or whatever. I just remember like reactions. I was watching with my dad, who was also a Steiners fan. And when Scott came out for the first time, my dad was like, what the happened to Scott Steiner? He's like, he looks like a freak. And I'm like, well, yeah. So that's a gimmick, pal. After the match, Scott Steiner shakes hands with the Outsiders and hands them the tag titles before throwing the referee out of the ring for whatever reason. Bad night for that guy, by the way.
Because everybody had to join the NWO at this point.
Yep. I did feel that this was the beginning of like, I would, as much as I love the Steiners, I feel like Scott could have been a big single star even before this. So I don't know. I don't think you liked Big Papa Pump as much as I did.
I never liked him, honestly.
Okay, well, I was a fan. I don't know. I dug what he did, but either way, before the main event, we get the dumbest commercial for the dumbest pay-per-view, WCW NWO Uncensored. Do you remember this commercial?
No.
Whole thing sucked. If anybody wants to go back and look it up, I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's on the network. It's just like, why was this supposed to make me want to pay for this garbage?
Giants, rulers, diamonds, flags, dogs, hearts, flyers, outsiders, madmen, stars, WCW, NWO, uncensored! Kick, smash, fly, trash, punch, throw, bash, hit, rules are for fools. It's WCW, NWO, uncensored!
it was horrible. Even Shivani was saying
every instance was horrible.
Yeah, I know, but it's like at least make the commercial seem decent. Like Shivani was saying, he's like, if we had anybody who gave a damn about commercials and production back then, this thing never would have made air. But anyway, we're going to take our second to last break. When we come back, it is the main event, what we're all here to talk about. It's Hollywood Hogan and Sting right after this.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back. Time to dive into the main event. It's Hollywood Hogan versus Sting for the vacant WCW World Heavyweight Title. 16.5 minutes. Sting starts off by sprinting to the ring. The bell sounds, and Hogan starts whipping Sting with his weight belt and choking him with it, because apparently DQs don't matter. He also, by the way, uses a chair about 9 minutes in, and the referee just warns him, hey, no chairs.
Just so you know.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I know you used your weight belt. I know you choked a man. And you've already used a chair, but don't do it again. I'm like, well, excuse the out of me. Hogan controls the majority of this one. When Charles Robinson checks on Hogan in the corner, Hogan pulls him in front of a Stinger splash. Hogan then hits the leg drop while Nick Patrick comes down, and he only counts to 2. Hogan goes off on Patrick for not letting him cheat and not counting fast. He's like, hey, it's me, brother. Like Patrick is like, in a state of psychosis or whatever. He's like, oh, Hulk, is that you? Oh, sorry, I didn't count fast.
I'm supposed to count fast this time, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, wait, next time, right? I promise. But Patrick doesn't disqualify Hogan for a low blow. However, I think he was out of position or something like that was the excuse. Sting finally hits the Stinger splash and a Scorpion Death Drop. But as Hogan's going down, somehow he kicks Patrick. I think he kicked him in the nards, if I remember correctly. But this allows the NWO to run in, and Sting takes them all out. Okay, I missed this, because to me, it looked like Savage just slipped in the ring and then put the spray paint can down and then slid out. But did he hit Hogan with it?
I think he meant to.
Okay, because it looked like he just slid in. He was like, here's the spray paint, and then he left. I'm like, cool. I guess.
At this point, they're all broken up, I thought.
Yeah, I think he was doing it for Sting. Cause I don't know, because he just drops it and then leaves. I don't know. I could be wrong, but anyway, Sting pins Hogan and he wins the world title. Look, this match wasn't, quality-wise, just pure wrestling. It wasn't the greatest, but frickin' Dave gave it a half a damn. I at least gave it 2 stars. What say you?
I gave it 2. I was more into what was going to happen at the end of the match, to be honest with you.
I for one was disappointed that Sting didn't look directly into the camera and say "Mamacita."
Wow.
What? Repeat.
Why you got to bring that back up?
Because, man, he didn't say a word for a year. First thing he does, look in the camera, "Mamacita." But after the match, Sting grabs a spray paint and he
paints. Is his wife Mexican?
Not that I know of. But Sting spray paints WCW on Hulk Hogan's chest and stomach before celebrating and leaving. I gotta point out, by the way, Sting was just in a plain black singlet. No logos, nothing. Just all black.
Probably left him at home.
Yeah. It's like, crap, does anybody have a spare singlet? Sure, Stinger.
You always carry plain black spare plain black singlets backstage. It's a rule in wrestling.
Wait, Rick Steiner might have. All right, that's the end of the event. We'll take our final break right here. When we come back, we're going to be talking about our final ratings and what is to come in the weeks ahead. We'll be right back.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we're back. Final break here, and the final ratings of the show. Internet Movie Database gave it 6.7 out of 10. CageMatch.net gave it a 6.03 out of 10. I gave it a 7 out of 10. What did you give it?
I gave it a C+, but man, it was such a fun experience being there too. When Sting won that title, I remember like the whole place just going crazy, man. I was like jumping for joy. I think that might have been the first world title change I've ever seen live.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, that was new to me too. I was a huge Sting fan, still am, but
I feel like, I mean, while this moment was cool, I feel like Sting shouldn't have had it stripped from him at all.
Yeah.
Weird. This whole thing was just odd. I don't know. But
he didn't have a tan this night either, so.
I know. That was another thing Conrad Thompson brought up. He was like, okay, what was the difference between how he looked and acted in December 97 and February of 98? He still wasn't tan. He was in the same shape. Like, what the hell? He just didn't like the cut of his jib the first night?
Maybe he didn't like his hair. That's why Matt Morgan never got a push.
Oh, man, yeah. Hey, how am I supposed to take you seriously as a giant with that hair? Like, what? He's a giant that can do drop kicks. Shut the F up. I don't know.
Does drop kicks with that hair?
No, yeah, I know. I mean, Bischoff is the hair authority, so. But yeah, I mean, all in all, not every match was a hit on this show, obviously. But, I mean, Booker T got some solid time and really got to come into his own, I feel, at the beginning of the show.
Disco got some solid time, too.
Oh, God, I know. And La Parka. Jericho and Juventud had a great match, I feel. DDP and Benoit had a great match. You know, Rick Steiner went on his trajectory to be a singles star. So, I mean, and we had Hogan versus Sting, too. So, all in all, big night in WCW. Unfortunately, we'd have to ruin it all the next month. Yeah. Unfortunately, we'd have to ruin it all the next month with Uncensored, but I kid. But seriously. Or do I kid?
Kind of, maybe.
Yeah. Uncensored was always a pile of crap. So, either way, that's that show. SuperBrawl 8, everybody. Greg was there. This Friday, we are dropping our bonus episode. We're going to throw you a freaking bonus here. It's WWE's No Way Out 2006. I will say this is going to be more of a talk about the event kind of episode. We do have some news and notes to get into. Some stuff that's semi-big, but, I mean, TNA was doing their thing at this time, and it was mostly just WWE stuff. So we'll get into all that. The show itself, you know, not to discourage anybody from it, the show itself was freaking great. I don't remember this one, but it was so good. You know, so tune in, check that out. I'm excited to talk about that with Greg. And next Wednesday, we are dropping our first TNA episode of the year. We are going TNA Against All Odds 2005 to close out the month of February. I don't know if I've ever seen this one. So
I know it's got one match on there that's freaking epic.
Yeah, we wanted to throw a TNA show on, not as a bonus, but as a regular show. It's from 16 years ago. So check it all out and see what we thought about it. It's going to be fun. I'm very much looking forward to this. But that closed out our February. Thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you all next week. Actually, we'll see you all on Friday with WWE
and
No
next
Way
week.
Out. And next week. But this Friday, No Way Out 2006. Next Wednesday, Against All Odds 2005.